pupils, parents, and guardians. Let me start by thanking you for being a part of all our remote learning platforms, particularly our television program, The Classroom in Your Home. Each feedback has been awesome. Good job, you. Our teachers have been working assiduously to bridge the learning loss during this critical period. Therefore, I am pleased to inform you that the Classroom in Your Home has been extended to accommodate the lower primary classes and a dedicated lesson to cater for our special needs pupils in line with our mandate of providing an all-inclusive and quality basic education in our dear state. Please encourage your wards to tune in and take every advantage of this laudable program. Also remember, this pandemic is not over. Let us continue to abide by all health and safety guidelines as stipulated by the government. At LASUBEB, we are determined to leave no child behind in our quest to improve the standard of basic education in our state. Thank you.
Hello pupils, you're welcome to another wonderful edition of your favorite program, The Classroom in Your Home, a program organized by the Lagos State Government and packaged by the Lagos State Universal Basic Education Board, LASUBEB. It is to ensure that you're academically engaged in addition to what you're learning in school, and I call that blended learning. I am Auntie Fumi, your English Studies teacher, and as usual, I have with me your wonderful teachers.
Hello children, I am your mathematics teacher, Uncle Agbaje, but you know me as the mathematician.
Uncle Popo is here. I am your general studies teacher.
And we also have our beautiful sign language interpreter in the house, Auntie Rosemary. And together,
we are bringing the classroom into your home.
Please stay tuned. You are welcome to Auntie Fumi's class. In our English Studies lesson today, we're going to look at a very important topic, and that is Concord. Yes, Concord. The learning objective for this lesson is that by the end of today's lesson, you should be able to say some basic rules governing the agreement of subjects and verbs. You should be able to say some basic rules governing the agreement of subjects and verbs. Not only that, you should also be able to observe the use of concord correctly. When you make sentences in English language, you think there are no rules? You think those sentences they are just there without any rules governing them? That is not correct. There are basic rules governing agreement of subjects and verbs in our sentences. Let's move on. What do we mean by the word concord? Concord is an agreement between words in gender, number, person, or any other grammatical category which affects the form of the words. Agreement or concord, when I say concord, it also means agreement. Agreement or concord happens when a word changes form depending on the other words to which it relates. When we're talking about concord or agreement, it happens when a word changes form depending on the other words to which it relates. A verb in a sentence must agree with its subject in number and person. When you have a sentence, the verb and the subject must agree. they must agree together. That's why we said there are rules governing the use of subjects and verbs in sentences. What are those basic rules governing the agreement of subject and verb? What are the basic rules governing the agreement of subject and verb? Now you need to give me your maximum attention so that you'll be able to study these rules and understand the rules governing the agreement of a subject and verb. When you understand these rules very well, you will not be making any mistake. Now, rule number 1. A singular subject in the third person takes a verb in the singular form. A singular subject in the third person takes a verb in what? In a singular form. Look at the examples. He plays a lot. He plays a lot. What is the subject in the sentence? The subject is he. And the verb is plays. So the rule is that a singular subject, he, in the third person, will take a verb in the singular form, plays. So the subject in the third person will take a verb in the singular form. That is why we have an example like he plays a lot. Not only that, she works hard. She works hard. What is the subject here? This is the subject and it's in the third person. And definitely the verb will take the singular form. She works hard. Are you with me? Well done. The next example is it moves fast. It moves fast. The subject, of course, is it in the third person. And the verb will definitely be in what form? In the singular form. Well done. So we have examples. He plays a lot, she works hard, and it moves fast. Rule number 2. A plural subject takes a verb in the plural form. A plural subject takes a verb in the plural form. That is rule number 2. Let's have examples. They play a lot. They play a lot. What is the subject here? They. And of course it is in what form? In the plural form. So this is the subject. This is the subject. And this is the verb. Because the subject is in the plural form, the verb is also in the plural form. They play a lot. You cannot say they place a lot. It is they play a lot. We work hard. We work hard. The subject in the plural form is we. Unlike the first rule, when we talk about the subject in the third person taking a verb in the singular form, then we had he plays a lot, she plays a lot. Now we are talking about the plural subjects, we, taking a verb in the plural form. That is why we're having the verb in the plural form too. We work hard. Another example, the cars move fast. The cars move fast. The subject in the plural form is the cars. And the verb in the plural form now is move. Are we together? Well done. Let's go to the third rule. Singular or plural subjects joined by and. Joined by what? And require a verb in the plural. Singular or plural subjects joined by and require what? A verb in the plural. Let's have examples to that. The boy and his friend are. This is the verb in the plural form. Are home. Kemi and her mother were there last month. Kemi and her mother were there last month. Another example, the king and his wives are coming. You can see the verb coming, appearing in the plural. The boy and his friend are at home. Kemi and her mother were here last month. And the king and his wives are coming here. So, singular or plural subjects joined by and require a verb in the plural. Now it's activity time. In today's lesson, we've been able to talk about concord, and we've given it another name that it also means agreement between the subject and the verb. And we gave 4 rules guiding the use of subject and verbs in a sentence. We talked about a singular subject in the third person taking a verb in the singular form, a plural subject taking the verb in the plural form. We talk about singular and plural subjects that has and taking plural form of the verb. And the last one we talked about the singular subject expressed in a third person and introduced that has phrase introduced by like or as well to take singular form of verbs. Now it's activity time. Let us see how attentive you have been in the course of the lesson. You have to choose the correct answers. The team dash here, it will play today. The team dash here, it will play today. Is it the team were here, the team is here, or the team are here? What is the answer? You're already taking your answer because I'm not going to give a special time for that. Let's do it together. Number 2, the man and his children dash coming to visit us. The man and his children dash coming to visit us. Is it has been coming, is coming, or are coming to visit us? What is the answer? Write only the answer. Number 3, a tiger, like the lion, dash carnivorous animal. A tiger, like the lion, dash carnivorous animal. Option is a carnivorous animal. Is an carnivorous animal. A carnivorous animal. What is your answer? Number 4, the baby usually dash every night before going to bed. The baby usually dash every night before going to bed. Is it usually eats every night, or usually eat every night, or usually is eating every night before going to bed? Write the answer. And the last one, the last question. The robber and his wife dash arrested. The robber and his wife dash arrested. Is it have arrested, as arrested, or were arrested? Have you written your answer? Your pens up, down. Time for correction. Wow. Number 1, the team is here. It will play today. The team is here. It will play today. The answer is is. Please mark. Number 2, the man and his children are coming to visit us. The man and his children are coming to visit us. The answer is are. A-R-E. Another tick if you have that as your answer. Number 3, a tiger, like the lion, is a carnivorous animal. A tiger, like the lion, is a carnivorous animal? The answer is A. Number 4. The baby usually eats every night before going to bed. The baby usually eats every night before going to bed. The answer is eats, E-A-T-S. If you have that as your answer, give yourself a tick. Number 5. The robber and his wife were arrested. The robber and his wife were arrested. Auntie Fumi got 5 out of 5. What about you? 4? 3? No problem. You are winners, and I celebrate you with a chair. Well done. For your assignment, I give you the next 30 seconds to copy this assignment before we sign out of today's English Studies lesson. And your time starts now. I believe you have finished copying your assignment. Make sure you do your assignment. And that's it for today. We have come to the end of the English Studies lesson for today. Did you enjoy the lesson? Yes, I did too. It's time for me to hand you over to Uncle Agbaje, the math magician, for your mathematics lesson. Don't forget, Auntie Fumi is always proud of you. Good job.
Hello children, you're welcome to today's episode of the classroom in your home. It is mathematics time, and that means it is time to have some fun. I am Uncle Agbaje. Today is Monday, and we will begin our Mondays as we usually do, which is with a math-a-thon. You will have 8 questions, and you will have just 50 seconds to tackle these 8 questions. It's just multiplications by 2 and 5. I'm sure you have your pen and your paper ready? Alrighty then, let's begin. Alrighty then, I believe that you are done by now. Let's just check out the answers to these questions. 190, 110, 86, 136, 98, 150, 230, 126, 74, and 210. Of course, you know that to multiply numbers by 5, if it's an even number, just halve the number, divide it into 2 and add 0, and that is the principle. And then you know how to multiply by 2. And for doing so well with this, I'm going to celebrate you with a chair. Now, moving on to today's work. What do we have for today? Our topic for today, of course, is financial mathematics. That aspect of mathematics that has to do with money. I'm sure that you love money. Alrighty then. We're going to be talking specifically about taxes. You've probably come across taxes in your social studies with Uncle Popo, but we're going to be looking at the mathematical aspect of it. So we begin with the learning objectives. By the end of the lesson, what are we supposed to be able to do? We should be able to appreciate the idea of taxes and what we call taxable income. we should also be able to calculate taxable income from the annual income. And finally, we should be able to calculate the tax from the taxable income. What do all this mean? Let's just get started right away without much ado. We have taxes. You've heard about taxes. What are taxes? Taxes are compulsory monetary charges that is levied by the government on workers, everybody that work, on workers' income or business profits. And these levies are used for the provision of amenities. The school that you're attending is built with taxes. The roads that you ply every day on your way to school, built by taxes. So that is that about taxes. Our job is not to look at what taxes are really, but to calculate what tax should be paid by individuals. Let's talk about the annual income. The annual income is the total money that is earned by a worker for a whole year. And if it is the business, is the total profit that is made at the end of the year. So we also call it the gross income. So imagine all the salary that your dad gets or your mom gets from January to December, add everything together, that is the annual income. And then we have what we call the taxable income. When you earn, or your parents rather, when they earn the salary, they don't pay tax on the whole salary. You see, government gives them some part of it free of tax, and then taxes the rest of the money. The part of the money that is taxed by the government is what we call taxable income. For example, if somebody earns 100,000 naira, the government can decide to give him 50,000 naira free. Then the remaining 50,000 naira is not the tax. That is the one the tax will be deducted from, and that is what we call the taxable income. It is the part of the annual income that can be taxed after necessary deductions have been made. Let's see this example. This one says, calculate the taxable income again of a man who earned an annual income of 800,000 naira. If the first 250,000 naira and 20% of the annual income are not taxed. So we need to be careful here. Two things will not be taxed. So we have to remove those two things, those two amounts of money from the whole income, and then we can tax the rest of it. Okay, so we remove the two and we tax the rest. But what are the two things, the two amounts that need to be removed? The first 250,000 naira will not be taxed. 20% of the annual income will not be taxed. So let's just begin right away. Again, the total income is 800,000 naira. What are we going to remove from it? The first deduction, the first thing we are going to deduct is 250,000 naira, because the question did say that we will not tax 250,000 naira. What is the second deduction? What are we going to deduct again? We're going to deduct 20% of the annual income, and therein lies the challenge. We have not been given 20% of the annual income in money terms, so we have to first find out how much is 20% of the annual income. We already know this one is 250,000 naira. It's already in money terms. We need to find this one in money terms, calculate it, know how much it is before we can deduct. So that's our immediate problem. We can't deduct without knowing how much we want to deduct. Okay, so let's get started. We need to find 20% of the annual income. And remember that we have done percentages. 20% means 20 all over 100. Good. And then off becomes times the multiplication symbol. But the annual income, how much is the annual income? Go back to the question. Annual income is 800,000. So we need to calculate 20% of that. And so we'll let two zeros here cancel two of the zeros there. Remember, above and below. Then what are we left with? We are left with 1 times 1 in the denominator. That is a trivial denominator. Now, 2 times 8 is 16. And then we had 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 16 and 4 zeros. And we have 160,000 naira. Are we done? No, we are not done. What we have just done is that we have calculated 20% of the annual income, and we know that that 20% is now 160,000 naira. But we have not subtracted it from the annual income. we still need to subtract it from the annual income. So let's just proceed with the deduction. So the total deduction that we need to remove from the annual income now is the first 250,000 naira and then the 20%, which is now 160,000 naira. We need to add it together, then subtract from the annual income. So let's just quickly do that here. Let me see. 250,000 plus 160,000. Subtraction, addition now, because we want to bring the two amounts together before we deduct it fully. 0, 0, 0, addition, 0. 5 plus 6 is 11, so we write 1 and regroup 1. 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 4. And so we have 410,000 naira. So the total deduction is 410,000 naira. I believe we are okay. But are we done? Of course we are not done. What we have just gotten is the total amount we need to deduct. We still need to find the taxable income. How to find the taxable income? The total income is 800,000. The total deduction is 410,000 naira. Now we need to deduct it to find what is left, which the government can now collect tax on. And so deduction is just subtraction. And so if I do the subtraction right here, what do we have? Minus, of course, 0, 0, 0, 0. Now 0 minus 1 is not possible, so I borrow 1 from here. I'm left with 7. I bring that 1 here, it gives me 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. 7 minus 4 is 3. So I have the total income. After removing all the amounts that we need to remove, we are left with 390,000 naira. So total income minus deduction is 390,000 naira, as you can see. And so the taxable income for this man, even though he earns 800,000 naira annually, government cannot deduct tax on all that money. They can only deduct tax on 390,000 naira. And that, my friend, is what we call the taxable income, the income that can be taxed, taxable income. I believe we are together up to this point. Now I will give you one to practice with. I know the process is quite long, so I will give you 2 minutes to work it out. Check out this question. This says, calculate the taxable income on an annual income of 500,000 naira if the first 80,000 naira and 25% of that annual income are not taxed. Okay, so you have to calculate 25% of the annual income, and then you have 80,000 naira, and then you make your deductions as appropriate. You have 2 minutes. Begin. Alrighty then, 2 minutes. I believe that was enough for you to do this work. Let's now go through it together. The question is saying we should calculate the taxable income on an annual income of 500,000 naira if the first 80,000 naira cannot be taxed and 25% of the annual income cannot be taxed. So we have to find 25% of the annual income, remove it from the annual income itself, and then we need to also remove 80,000 naira again from the annual income to know the rest. And that remaining amount is what can be taxed by the government. So the total income is 500,000 naira. And what are we deducting? We're deducting 80,000 naira. We're also deducting 25% of the annual income. And of course, I believe, as smart as you are, you began finding the 25% of the annual income. And that is what I am going to do too, 25% of the annual income, 25% means 25 over 100. Off, we change to multiplication symbol, and then the annual income is 500,000 over 1. I believe that we are good up to this point. Excellent. Now I can let 2 zeros cancel 2 zeros. Okay, then I'm left with 25 times 5 times 0, 25 times 5, which is 125. Then I have how many zeros? 1, 2, 3 zeros left. So writing that out, I have 125,000 naira. That is not the answer. That is just 25% of the annual income. I have been able to change it to an amount, to a certain amount of money, 125,000 naira. Now, we have to deduct 80,000 naira. According to the question, it said the man cannot be taxed for 80,000 naira. He can also not be taxed for 25% of the annual income, which is 125,000 naira. So what I do is I bring all these amounts that I need to remove, I bring them together to know the total amount, like this. Total deduction is 80,000 naira plus 125,000 naira, and I'm sure that you got 205,000 naira. This is the amount that I must remove from the salary before knowing the rest, and that remaining amount is exactly the taxable income, the income that can be taxed. So we are not done. What we have gotten here is the total amount that cannot be taxed. We'll remove it. We now have what can be taxed, the taxable income. So let's just do the subtraction here. So I have 500,000 naira, which is the total income, and total deductions is 205,000 naira. 0 minus 0, 0 minus 0, 0 minus 0. The operation, of course, is subtraction. 0 minus 5 is not possible. So I go all the way here to borrow 1. I'm left with 4. Then I give it here and I borrow 1 again. I'm left with 9. Then I give it here. Now I have 10 minus 5, which is 5. 9 minus 0, which is 9. 4 minus 2, which, of course, is 2. And, of course, the naira symbol still comes in. In this case, my taxable income, the remainder, is now 295,000 naira. And so as we can see, the final answer, of course, is 295,000 naira. And so we say that the taxable income for this man is 295,000 naira. Even though he earns 500,000 naira, government cannot tax everything. The only part of his money that can be taxed is 295,000 naira. So that's all about that with taxable income and the annual income. Look at this problem. Government charges 10% tax. As you can see, it's a percentage. This right here is the key word that we're working with, the key phrase, 10% tax. So without wasting much time, let's get started. It is the same process that we have used before. Let me select a white pen here. Okay. So first, write out the total income and identify what we need to remove, the deductions, so that we can know what is taxable. Okay, so the deductions are 100,000 naira, apart from the money, so we have to remove that. We also have to remove 20% of the annual income. So without wasting much time, we need to know that 20% in actual money terms. So we have to calculate it. So let's just get started with that right away. 20% of the annual income is 20 over 100. 20% is 20 over 100. Off becomes the multiplication sign, and then the annual income itself is 750% over 1. And because there are so many zeros, our work is easy. So we let 2 zeros cancel 2 zeros. Then we multiply 2 times 75. Because these are the significant figures, digits. 2 times 75 will give us 150. And then we had 1, 2, 3 zeros. So 150, then 3 zeros. That's 150,000 naira. So 20% of the annual income is 150,000 naira. We are not done. We are far from being done. What we have only gotten is 20% of the annual income. So step 1 is done. Step 2. To now bring the deductions together, and that is 100,000 naira, the first amount we should deduct, and 20% of the annual income, which is 150,000 naira. We need to bring them together and calculate, and that is 250,000 naira. 100,000 naira plus 150,000 naira gives us 250,000 naira. We are still not done. That is just step 2 done. We have gotten the amount we are supposed to remove from the salary. We now need to remove that amount from the salary to know what is left. And what is left is what we can remove tax from. All right. So 250,000 naira has to come out of the annual income, so we have to subtract. So subtracting quickly, 0 minus 0 is 0, 0 minus 0 is 0, and up to this place value. Then 5 minus 5 is 0, 7 minus 2 is 5. So we have 500,000 naira left. So what have we done so far? We have removed the first amount, we have removed the second amount, we have 500,000 naira left, and that is what? That, my friend, is the taxable income. If the taxable income is 500,000 naira, the job in front of us really is to find the tax. The question says, how much tax will be paid? So now we need to calculate the tax, because that is what the government needs. It's not enough to know that you can collect tax on 500,000 naira. You also need to be able to calculate the tax. But what is the tax rate? We have been given, do not forget that government charges 10% tax. And when government charges you 10% tax, what does that mean? It means you have to remove 10% of the money. But do we know what 10% of the money is? We don't know. So again, we need to calculate 10% of this money. Tax is 10% of the taxable income. Tax is 10% of what we can collect tax on. And the taxable income is 500,000 naira. So we just have 10% of that. And that is 10 over 100 times 500,000. So the zeros will help us out. We have 2 zeros cancelling 2 zeros. 1 times 5 is 5. Then we have 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 times 5 is 5. So that's 5 and 4 zeros. 5 and 4 zeros. So the tax is actually 50,000 naira. And so we finally get to where we're really going, which is to find the tax. And so I have explained the process to you. You have enough time during the homework to practice what you have learned. Of course, you must expect that I will ask you to calculate the tax. Government charges 8% tax on taxable income. How much tax will be paid by Mrs. Ude, who earns 1 million naira annually, if the first 128,000 naira and 20% of the annual income are not taxed? Copy this down quickly. You have 30 seconds. Alrighty then, and with that we have come to the end of the mathematics lesson for today. I trust that you had fun. I enjoyed myself. I will now hand you over to Uncle Popo for the general studies lesson. Till I come your way in the next class, please remain wonderful mathematicians. Bye now.
Hello pupils, you are welcome to general studies class. I am Uncle Popo. Uncle Popo is here.
I am also here.
Good. We are here together.
100% attention.
Brilliant one. 100% attention is what you are promising to give me in today's lesson. Our subject for today is basic science and technology. Basic science and technology is the subject. And let me ask you a question. How many of you would like to be like your parents when you grow? Okay. I know some of you love your parents, your dad, your mom. You like the way they treat you. You like the way they nurture you. And I know some of you want to even do better than them. Good. So let's talk about responsible parenthood. That's today's topic. Responsible parenthood. The learning objectives. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to define responsible parenthood and state the causes of irresponsible sexual behavior. Now, let's go. Now, before you become a parent in future, let's talk about your present stage of development. So let's discuss puberty. What is puberty? Puberty is the process of physical changes through which a child's body matures into an adult body. Let me take it again. Puberty is the process of physical changes through which a child's body matures into an adulthood. When you were born, your body as it is now, that was not the way it was when you were born. Like when you were 2 years old compared to you now 8 years old, 10 years old, 9 years old, you can't compare the body. You have grown. So at the same time, growing up again, your physical body will still change when you get to age of 15, 16, 17, like that. So your physical body will change. So that's what we are talking about. It's a process of physical changes through which a child's body matures into an adulthood. You can see, let's see stages of development here. See, now he has grown taller, fatter, and everything has changed. Yeah, that's what we are talking about in puberty. So your physical body changes. According to the National Institute of Health, puberty usually begins in girls between 8 and 13. Between what? Age 8 and 13. And 13 years of age. And in boys between 9 and 14 years of age. That's when they say you are experiencing puberty. Between age and 13, that's for girls. And between age of 9 and 14, that's why you start experiencing physical changes and your body is becoming mature to adults. Now, having gone through puberty, we have known that puberty is the stage of development, physical changes of the body into adults. So let's talk about responsible parenthood. Responsible parenthood. Say that. So what do we mean by that? When we say responsible parenthood, we are talking about the training up of children to do what is good and acceptable at a given time and situation. Let me take it again. Responsible parenthood is the training up of children to do what is good and acceptable at a given time and situation. Like our parents, the way they are nurturing us, the way they are training us, giving us, correcting us in some ways, that's what we refer to as responsible parenthood, the training up of children to do what is good and acceptable. You can see this is just a picture showing how a responsible parent would do in guiding the children, in leading them, in assisting them to do their homework at times. And I know all our parents are doing that for us. That's an example. To build a healthy society, there must be responsible parenthood. If you have responsible parenthood in our society, it will dictate how that society will be, how it will be peaceful, and we will not have much of social vices, much of crime, because from the family, from home, the children are well trained, they are nurtured, they know what is good and from what is bad, and the culture, the tradition and values of that society are imparted. So that's the work there. To build an healthy society, there must be responsible parenthood. Now let's talk about consequences of irresponsible sexual behavior. Now, the stage of puberty, you are trying to develop to become adult, and there are some certain things that you are not expected to be involved in, because those behaviors, those acts may lead somebody into destruction. So let's look at consequences of irresponsible sexual behavior. That's why in your school you should select the kind of friends you move with so that they won't just lure you to do bad things. consequences of irresponsible sexual behavior. One, it leads to unwanted pregnancy. Say that. It leads to unwanted pregnancy. We have some young children, we have at the age of 12, 13, young girls now getting unwanted pregnancy. One, they are not mature enough to carry pregnancy, and they are not yet adult. So having involved in irresponsible sexual behavior, they may get pregnant. So that is one of the consequences. It leads to unwanted pregnancy. And next one is it causes difficulty during childbirth due to immature womb. A girl of 12 or 13 years or 14, 15 that wants to give birth, one is not yet mature, the body system not yet mature to do that. So it causes difficulty during childbirth due to immature womb. The womb is not mature enough to give birth. So if such a person involved in irresponsible sexual behavior, the problem at the end is difficulty in childbirth. Why? Immature womb, because the womb is not yet mature. That's another consequence. Next one is it may lead to death because of abortion, because of the shame that the girl will want to may likely pass through. Some who follow the advice of their friends to go and abort, and when somebody is trying to abort, it may lead to death. It may lead to death, and that's very, very dangerous. So that the best thing is to avoid being into any irresponsible sexual behavior. That's when you are free from all this. So you don't try it at all, because it leads to death because of abortion. That's another consequence. Moving on to the next one, it may lead to students dropping out of schools. It may lead to students dropping out of schools. We have the cases of young girls dropping out of school because in primary school, in secondary school, it's not possible to be coming to school wearing your school uniform and you are pregnant. So it's not done. So we have cases of young girls that are now out of school because of unwanted pregnancy. I'm saying that irresponsible sexual behavior will cause us all this. The best thing is to avoid that. So it leads to students dropping out of school. Another consequence is one may contract sexually transmitted diseases. What are these sexually transmitted diseases? Like gonorrhea, syphilis, HIV/AIDS, and so on. So through irresponsible sexual behavior, diseases like gonorrhea, syphilis, and these diseases can even kill somebody. So the best thing is to desist from irresponsible sexual behavior, because contraction of diseases that can kill somebody is there. Moving on to the next consequence is it may cause barrenness at adulthood. Maybe at the time that the girl now wants to settle down in future, because of several abortions that the person had done, it may cause barrenness at adulthood, because at that tender age, the girl has aborted so many pregnancies, and at adulthood, he may be barren and be looking for a child. So it's a problem. So the best is to desist from irresponsible sexual behavior. So in today's lesson, we have talked about responsible parenthood. There we first of all talked about your present age. We talked about puberty, and responsible parenthood is the training up of children to do what is good and acceptable at a given time and situation. Then we talked about puberty. You were told that puberty is the process of physical changes through which a child's body matures into an adult body. Then consequences of irresponsible sexual behavior. We discussed that. One, it leads to unwanted pregnancy. It causes difficulty during childbirth due to immature womb. It may lead to death because of abortion. And it may lead to students dropping out of schools. One may contract sexually transmitted diseases like gonorrhea, syphilis, HIV/AIDS, and so on. And it may cause barrenness at adulthood. All this we discussed in today's lesson. Now it's time for evaluation. Evaluation time. Good. I have just few and simple questions. Question number 1, what is puberty? Question number 2, state 3 consequences of irresponsible sexual behavior. Your time starts now. Eyes on me. Uncle Popo is here. I believe you are still there. So let's mark together. Puberty. Puberty is the process of physical changes through which a child's body matures into an adult's body. 3 consequences of irresponsible sexual behavior. 1, it leads to unwanted pregnancy. It causes difficulty during childbirth due to immature womb. It may lead to death. It may lead to students dropping out of schools. One may contract sexually transmitted disease, and so on. We listed more than 3 here. So any 3 that we have discussed today so are also correct. So mark accordingly and rate yourself. We have come to the end of today's lesson. Until next time, next lesson, Uncle Popo says, keep on studying. Bye.
My wonderful pupils, we have come to the end of another wonderful episode on The Classroom in Your Home.
Wonderful indeed. Another interesting round of lessons. I hope you enjoyed yourself, because we have enjoyed ourselves dishing out new content to you. But of course, you know that all you learn here is supposed to complement what you're learning in school. Now, to check whether you have learned enough for today, we want you to visit our online page using the link bit.ly/LASUBEB lesson 79. The link again is bit.ly/LASUBEB lesson 79. Remember, this is our way of knowing how well you are performing in order to help you to improve on your performance.
Taking the online assessment is based on if you have access to either your daddy's, your mommy's, your uncle's, or your auntie's Android or smartphones. If not, you don't have any problem. Just send your questions, your comments, and your assignment to 081-5086-5663. Please do not call that line. Just send your SMS or WhatsApp messages only. And when you are sending in your assignment, make sure you indicate your name,
your school,
your class,
and your local government education authority. This is the only way we'll be able to identify you and appraise you accordingly.
The lessons taught today and the previous ones are on LASUBEB YouTube channel for you to watch over and over again. Subscribe to LASUBEB YouTube channel to get notification when new videos are uploaded. The Classroom in Your Home could be watched live on Facebook, the same time hearing on television through the page showing on the screen.
Till our next lesson, when we shall meet again on another well-packaged edition, please do your homework.
Wash your hands regularly.
Study hard, my friends, and
Stay safe. LASUBEB,
Leave no child behind.
you.